presentation. I'm sorry, you're all really, really tired, and it's also really, really hot in here. So yeah, I'm going to try to do this as fast as possible. So we decided to basically do a project on the climate card. So by we, I mean my group in the back over there, and me. But yeah, to start really quickly with why we kind of got the idea. So basically, my family was here visiting in early May. And so I was like, okay, because we're going to be taking public transit a lot, I figured, how about they try the climate card? I'm using it, I know how to use it, I know the limitations, we're good. But I kind of forgot the fact that I'm in university a lot of the time, so that my family's going to have to be traveling alone. And then I can't help them. And because they like exploring a lot, they might end up going places the climate card doesn't cover, which I'm sure they'll figure out, but it's still a bit more difficult, right? So the conclusion is that this is just too complicated, and so we ended up not doing it, which is not really the best conclusion to have. But basically, I figured also that my family, we can't be the only ones who are having this issue, and we're not wrong. So if you check out the Reddit, a lot of people are confused as to how the climate card actually works. So the conclusion here is, girl, so confusing. Because girl, it is really confusing, like even for me. So our motivation, like I said, is because my family obviously came here, we couldn't use it. And so even if you do look up this information, it's not in English. So we essentially have to sit down and translate everything and provide it in a bit of a better way, because even if you do look it up and you're able to translate it, there's so much information, and it's really information overload, especially when you're not living in Seoul, you're not really familiar with the city, it's just going to be overall really, really confusing. It's also, obviously, because this is public transport, that's what our sustainable development goals are kind of associated with. So, yeah. Anyway, we decided, how about we make a pamphlet that we can hand out when people buy these cards? Because again, you have all these questions. Where do I get one? Where and how do I use it? How much does it cost? And what on earth is the coverage? So it contains basic information, and you've been handed like an actual version of the pamphlet that you can refer to as I go through the presentation. But basically, this is what it looks like. So to start, it has the completely basic information about what it is, how long you can use it for, what different types there are, the pricing, etc. And also, most importantly, how on earth do you get one? Because that can also be very confusing. So we essentially decided to write out the information here, also noting that charging the card is cash only, even though people with a Korean bank card can use their card. Foreigners can't do that. We've tried, it doesn't work. So you have to use cash only, and I figured that that's important to highlight. In addition, there's a step-by-step, you have to buy the physical card and then you can charge it. But for Koreans, if this information is provided, it says you can register it in the app, but you can't register in the app if you're a foreigner who doesn't reside in Korea. We also mentioned where it is specifically sold. So now onto the part where most tourists are going to get really confused, and it is, where can you use the actual card? So we wrote up all of the information like this to make it a little bit more easy to look at, and also very much highlighted the fact that the Shinbundang line is not covered. Because how many times, I've taken that subway so many times, and I always see there's some foreigners standing outside the transfer gates unable to get in, because they bought the wrong ticket. And so we found it's important to highlight that one specifically, because there are so many tourists who live in like the Gangnam area at hotels. And they are going to take this and get confused, and then they can't get out, which is not the best impression to leave on any tourist. But we did also highlight here that when you're visiting major tourist destinations in Seoul, it's usable for all of them. We also briefly mentioned bus. I do want to point out that most tourists prefer the subway to bus, but we did mention them regardless, that it covers these ones and it does not cover these ones. But yeah, again, most people do take the subway, in my experience. So we added a QR code. This one leads directly to the Seoul Metro website, so you can also scan that both on the pamphlet that you got or here. Again, we highlighted that it does not cover the symptom language because that is very, very much important. Yeah, you get very taken aback when you suddenly get locked inside a subway station. So for what we were planning with further project development is that we figured we could cooperate with organizations in charge for pamphlet distribution in airports, subway stations, etc. But also just have them in convenience stores, hotel lobbies, etc. Yeah, pretty much. It's fairly easy to put in place, I would say. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We will be receiving any questions to the floor if you have any.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And I was just curious that the 한국관광공사, the Korea Tourism Organization's logo is on the pamphlet that we received. Did you actually reach them out to work something out, or?
Not yet, but we figured this isn't, I mean, if we take 100% charge of actually doing everything, like, they're not really forced to do that much. So we figured if we did choose to reach out, it's not that likely that they would say no, we figured. But yeah, it was just to make it seem a little bit more official in the demo version, yeah.
We are looking forward to cooperating with 한국관광. Alright, thank you.
Even though the Seoul is going to launch the climate card for greener, the short-term period.
Yeah, that's the, because they have here. Yeah, so these are the ones that, the reason we also added these is because if you're a tourist here, you're not going to be in Seoul for 30 days. That's completely, no. So we figured providing you with the information on the a little bit shorter passes would be a little bit more effective because that's the ones people are most likely going to use, which is why we mentioned this one at the top because that's the basic one, but then also you can do all of these if you want.
Okay, thank you so much.